The newspaper pages in Nigeria are revealing something different from what the government is saying. Sometimes we think the fear is a reflection of what is really happening, but the policies that the government are rolling out makes us feel security is improved. The hospitals are also revealing something different. The death rates are going up. In fact, mortality is becoming a normal thing. But the policy from the Federal Ministry of Health is revealing something else. There are a lot of things in Nigeria that doesn't really sit with what government is saying and what happens on the street. And thus we ask ourselves a question on Black or White podcast, where we always reveal the truth about things, not just how you see it, but we go deeper into the essence of what it is really. The Nigerian society really believes itself to be doing something wonderful for the people, but the people don't see the reality of what they're doing. When this government came into power, we remembered one of the first things he did was removing fuel subsidy. There was an applaud on the newspaper, and the policy seemed as if it was something so wonderful. But hunger still bites deeper and deeper. Today we'll be exploring one particular reality. Are we a surviving people? Or we are submitted to the fate of which government has given to us? So on today on this show, I'll be introducing three wonderful people. They're either going to join me in complaining, or they're going to tell me that the solutions I'm thinking doesn't exist, really exist. I have Mr. Bright in the studio with me. I have Mr. John in the studio with me, and my beautiful sister, Amira. I don't know where I'm going to start from, but let me start from you, Mr. Bright. The security situation in Nigeria, the infrastructure within the medical field does not seem to be functioning, but I think government is thinking they're doing something wonderful. Is there a disconnect between what government is doing and what the people are feeling?
So clearly, I think um, for us to just be frank, we know that nothing seems to be working. Every time we hear of insecurity issue, I think the government knows how to sugarcoat things and just allow things to uh, look better than what people, the perception or the reality of things. They've been able to make it look like nothing is wrong because, for example, now it seems like nothing is happening. But if you put your ears down, you would hear from local areas that insecurity is prevalent. There's still killings in some local villages and whatnot. These are some of the things that it will seem like we just allow these things to just continue. Is it that we don't know how to probably I wouldn't call it like maybe having like a protest or something.
No, well, no. The funny thing is this: you feel government is not doing anything, or government is not doing
No,
enough.
not like they
There
are
are two
not doing.
things. There are two things.
Not like they are not doing anything.
Okay.
But there's a problem with having to accept things the way they are and just live up like that, live on.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, yes, they're doing something, but whatever they are doing is not enough, and whatever they are doing definitely is not solving the problem. I mean, let's start with security. We're in the 21st century, where technology is supposed to be the key to solving virtually almost any challenge that the human race faces. We have porous borders. We know we do not have the manpower, whether it is the immigration, whether it is the customs. In fact, the military forces have been stretched. So why don't you deploy technology? Robots.
Why are they not doing it? That's the
No,
first thing.
hold on. Why are you not deploying technology? Why are you not deploying robots? Why are you not deploying drones? Because we hear, let's go to the budget of 2025. What was the portion of the budget that was allotted for defense?
I feel like the word you're all looking for is misplaced priorities, right? Because there are areas in which governments are putting their efforts and some money into. Let's look at the Minister of FCT that everyone's applauding. We can see roads in most places. That's amazing. At least it's going to reduce the amount of accidents we have. But if you go to National Hospital today, there is no hand wash in the toilet. And the smell is so horrible.
There's no hand wash.
No hand wash.
Go to Kuva General Hospital. Somebody was
There's no
admitted.
You can't
Somebody
even
was
see
admitted on a
space to
chair,
stand.
and they were giving the person drip on the chair.
So
But
weird.
one of the things I see, so from what you said also, what's the budget for Ministry of Health? Is it that the money doesn't get to the hospital or it's not being spent wisely?
It is corruption, as we like to call it. But let me borrow the words of the man I like to call my president, Goodluck Jonathan. The money is being stolen. Just barely 48 hours ago, they are talking about student loan. how much has been billions. We're not talking millions or billions. How do you expect
Exactly. How
that
many
in
people?
a nation where public fund is being pilfered, that the subject of medical welfare, security of citizens will be a priority? Obviously not.
No. What you're saying right now is this. On the context of the student loan, you said a lot of money has been stolen. I think I read it. I don't know the figure right now off my head, so I don't want to mention something, but I know it's running into billions.
Yes.
So government did the right thing. They put up funds for student loan. Let's understand that. Now, between when government put it out and getting to the students, there's a system in place.
Okay, let me help you out.
Okay.
So there was an issue that came up sometime 2 weeks ago or so, that some universities are allowing students to continue paying for school fees that has been paid for by the federal government. So those loans were supposed to be to help subsidize students' cost of living and having to pay for.
But don't you think it's because government also delayed their salaries and they just found
No.
a way? Yeah.
Now, the government created an avenue for students to seek for loan if your parents are not able to meet up. You seek for this loan, they pay it immediately to the school. Now, the school is supposed to now not stop you from having to do exams or whatever it is. But in this case, they found out that some schools, some universities are still going about telling students you cannot write exams
Unless
because
pay
you have
certain
not paid.
amount.
These are students that have been,
No, I don't.
shortlisted.
I don't think this narrative will be totally correct. Let me explain to you.
No, it's a public matter. It's not.
No, it's like mortgage. You go to your mortgage finance institution and they pay for you for a house. And it's like the owner of the house or the developer now says, if you have not paid me, you can't get access to the house that have been paid for already.
Funny to think that it is impossible.
It's not possible.
No, you will think it's not possible
Until it
you're
is
in
possible.
Nigeria.
So now,
So
actually
the
possible.
VCs. So what they are doing now is to say that those VCs who allow this scheme to collect from both the government and from the students should be persecuted. That story has been swept under the carpet.
okay, now do you feel because right now the narrative is getting a little bit twisted in my head. Is it that the student body that is being persecuted by the school to me right now? Because if you're doing this to me after I'm supposed to be owing government and you're not allowing me to do this, no matter what it is, if you tell the students come and write the exam right now, they have even gone through a lot for them to be able to write it the right way. Do you think it's now high time that the body of communities in societies have to start speaking directly to governments? We did something at a particular point in time whereby we forced the Nigerian police to give us toll-free numbers which you can report a police officer to.
You're speaking, with a clear sense of Nigeria, things cannot happen.
Ideal.
Ideal society.
But this is
The,
not
the,
ideal.
not an
the
ideal
issue
society.
of tint permit, I'll take that up now. Just some few days ago, the IG of police actually made clear that you can go online and make your application. Now, but do you know, as of yesterday, 2 days ago, I saw many people online complaining about how the
site is
security
not
officers
inaccessible.
were arresting or actually wanting to arrest for those who don't know their rights or know what to do.
So the weirdest thing happened to me, right? I was going to renew my passport. I did my payment and I got a receipt and everything. When I went for my capturing, they said they didn't see my payment on their systems. And it's weird because I have my receipts with me. And I was just thinking, is it that you're having an IT support issue or what's going on? And the more we talk about all these things, I feel so sad because I feel like our expectations and our bar is just so low to the point that now that we're talking about is that we're creating more awareness of what is really happening. And this is the life we are all living. And
So that's what
it seems like we are all insane.
look,
that's what
For
it
us to
is.
accept that.
Let's come to the reality. The system that is in place is created to defraud Nigerians. That's what it is.
Which of the systems? Let's use what you said as an example. You went to immigration portal.
Yes.
You paid.
Yes.
And you got to immigration office for your
Yes.
capture.
Yeah.
And they told you they didn't see your name or your
Yes.
payment has not reflected.
Yeah.
Because
That-
we all
now,
know
no,
that.
that's as you said, it might be a system glitch. It might be an IT problem.
But I have my receipts too.
But yeah, I know you have a receipt you printed out. they don't have a copy of that receipt on their
I
own
had a
system.
notification from my email from them.
From the system. From a system, not
From the system.
We're not saying the
You
person.
see,
Now,
that's
what
the point. The
no, so
system is designed. It's what you put in that you get out
no,
of.
what I'm asking is
No,
when you
no,
say the
I
system,
don't agree with
when you
that.
say the system
I
is
don't
designed
agree
to
with
fail.
that.
Yes.
No.
Are you saying the system, for example, that the Ministry of Interior has put together under the leadership of
So let me come in.
is it
a
what
bit.
is failing
Let me
or
come
the
in a
people
bit. Look,
within it?
so the thing is that let's not clearly say that the Nigerian system is failing. There are, like you mentioned, from limping, walking, crawling to running.
Yeah.
Now, there are systems that have been put in place by mostly the heads of these agencies, ministries, to work. The problem is, I think clearly now that first is the civil service. They are either bent on making this country not work
Intentionally?
intentionally, yes, because like the Minister of Interior, he has done so much to make sure that the system work effortlessly. Another sample I will point out is the CSC portal.
Yeah.
Everybody can attest that once you get on the portal, even if there's a glitch or there's an error somewhere, you still end up getting it fixed somehow.
It was not perfect.
It wasn't perfect, but they
at
grew
first.
to it. You understand? They grew. Now you can do it seamlessly.
Gentlemen,
You
and
understand?
lady.
So then it gets on to say that there are intentional issues within the civil service that are making Nigerian systems not work.
Whichever
Like
way,
what?
you see, we can push the buck whichever way we want to push it. As a Nigerian, when I am dealing with a fellow Nigerian, the first thing that comes to my head is that I am dealing with a Nigerian. I'm not dealing with an outsider. Knowing very well that the Nigerian is always thinking 2-3 steps ahead of me, how he's going to defraud me.
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the problem.
That is the
If
fact.
you have
That's
that
what you're
in your
thinking.
That
mind,
is the fact. I
If
give
you
you
have
an
that in
example.
your
I
mind.
give you an example. As we speak, an Okada man carries you from where we are to just the gate. He's going to collect 300 naira. Why?
How much is
what's
this
the cost of
He's supposed to collect 200 naira.
You've
Why?
not driven Okada before. How do you know?
Because if any
You have not driven Okada.
any commuter who commutes regularly can tell you what the average fare once it drizzles added 100 naira.
Because
opportunity now? Less people running Okada at that time.
At that time.
If I sacrifice myself
Surge.
to be a
No,
thank
but
you,
but
Surge.
you chose to be an Okada rider.
No,
Not
no,
on
no.
Surge.
You chose to provide that
He
service.
chose to utilize the situation.
Yes.
I chose to use the service, but that doesn't mean that because
You should
the call of
extort.
nature comes, you extort
Yeah,
me.
That's not
No,
his
that's
problem.
extortion.
That's not his
I'm
problem.
under the rain.
That's not his
Because
problem.
of
Exactly.
you.
Sacrificing.
Why?
You chose to offer that service in that condition.
At that amount.
At that amount. No,
that
at a
amount.
particular
Why should
amount.
that amount change?
Why should it not change?
Under what sense?
Under the rain.
No. How come? How come in other climes, whether the sun shines, the rain shines, it's still the same fare.
No
Yeah,
Okada.
I understand what he's saying, right? I understand what
No,
he's saying. I feel like we are all
creating
defrauding
double
each
standards.
other
And
Yeah.
as long
in
as there are
Nigeria,
double
and it's
standards,
actually really sad.
honestly, as long as there is
How-
double
when
standard,
is it going
you
to
will-
end?
It's
Yeah.
easy
When will
for
it ever
us.
end?
It's easy for us to point fingers at the people at the top. But what about for the? And that's why I said the other time on this show that the leadership is a reflection of the followership, because the leadership comes from the followership. Yeah. The followership is no better than the leadership.
And you know, when things become better, right? People refuse to bring down their price. That's where, when I talk about price ceiling and price floor, I feel like our government needs to set those policies in place. Because in Nigeria, whatever goes up
Never
doesn't
comes
come
down. There's no price control system.
No
But
price
there's
control.
there's no uniformity in also creation of these goods and services. Let me give an example. We're talking about price control right now. I don't know what we should control the prices in all sincerity. A bottle of drink produced in Ota, Ogun State, should be cheaper in Lagos than Abuja.
Then Abuja.
Naturally.
But people want it to be the same. So there's some price control that I don't understand. Yeah, there's yam in Benue. One tuber of yam will be 400 naira, 500 naira in Benue. In Abuja, Abuja is 1,200. If it gets to Port Harcourt, it should be 2,000.
Now, I agree
But now,
with-
people want... So if Ministry of
I
Agriculture...
agree with you, but you see, that is where government has a responsibility
Yes.
to let the people understand that, look, between Benue, Makodi, Boko, wherever that yam is coming from, to Abuja, the yam travels X distance. In fact, recently, I was privy to a report where a reporter interviewed a transporter that transports yams and all, and he said between Benue and Abuja, he must have paid police alone an average of almost 100,000 naira. Just every checkpoint. And he said, and the question he asked is that, please, who's going to bear the burden of that 100,000? So he has to spread it across the commodity he's transporting. So by the time
I don't believe these things.
No,
let me explain why I don't believe.
If we go to the depots in Mararaba and the Orange Market that are major stop points for most of these commodities, just talk to the
What I'm saying is the farmers right now from the north bringing goods to the south. It's a regular thing that they're doing. The transmission companies now know the police on the road, which is already there for the safety first of all. But I'm not saying you don't pay police. I've not done it, so I won't say they pay or not. But I've heard a lot of stories about that. But he's saying from Benue to Abuja, you pay 100,000 for carrying yam that you carry every 2 days or 3 days. It might not be, that might be an exaggeration.
Something illegally.
Exactly. It could be an exaggeration, but the fact still doesn't change that money has changed hands.
You know, Mr. Bright said something the other day when we were talking about trust and the context of the fact that in Nigeria, government is coming from a place of mistrust to trust. That's the way you put it. Like, the people don't trust the government at all. So when a policy comes out, nobody even understands if it's going to be a good policy. Government now has to go out of their way to prove to people that we want to be right. Do you think
that's clearly? So what I was saying then was, I think the Nigerian system now lives from, or the government structure lives from trying to prove trust first, or at least
Try to earn or gain
gain trust first in terms of executing a project before even getting to implement that project, just because there's no trust in the system. But I mean, not to go far from your topic of discussion, what I think now is that there's a huge issue with for us not to learn from history. When we don't learn from how things have been in the past, we would do the same mistake. So we always try to, act like we don't care. Then tomorrow we start complaining.
When you say we, are you talking about the leaders
We as
or
the
the
people.
followers?
We as a people.
So what do you mean exactly?
So imagine having to choose our leaders. I'll give you an instance. The issue of the president right now, who is Ahmed Bola Tinubu. During the NSAS, he was fingered to be someone who the youths were angry about, that he supported the clampdown of some protesters for the during the NSAS protest. But who voted during the election?
Well, Bright,
do you believe he won the election, honestly?
Well, that's not for us to judge.
Because if that's not for us to say, you now said the process of we choosing our leader. Did you really choose?
That's exactly what did we have an election?
I feel like at this point,
we saw people go out. We saw people vote. But did their vote count?
I feel we have to go extra.
No. It counted because
do we have an electoral umpire that truly
because at the end of the day,
guarantees that the vote of the people counts?
Tinubu didn't actually win the election in Lagos State.
Please,
So,
let's
I feel like
talk about Lagos State.
I'm not particular about any leader because I feel like it's just the same thing going on and on. I feel like it was a psychological situation that happened, right?
Yeah.
Someone not winning in a state that people anticipate that he would win. So I don't want to say, oh, they rigged the election. But talking about when you spoke about the Minister of Interior doing so much, we still have calibers of leaders in most of these parastatals that are not technological even inclined.
Yes.
And we are trying to create portals so that we can change everything from being manual to computerized.
Automated,
But we don't even have people that know they probably don't even know that when their system is having issues, simple troubleshooting, like turning it off and turning it on, or they don't even have to save a simple
It's not the
Microsoft
leader in
document.
question that should fix those things. It is the initiative.
But the heads of those places, right?
It is the initiative. So a leader is supposed to have the initiative, or at least gather people who can create these processes. The leader doesn't have to be...
if we're talking about leaders...
Right. You see, you're going
if we're talking about
leaders,
we're not talking about the president, the governors only. We're also talking about ministers. We're talking about DGs. We're talking about managers.
Yes.
Right? It's not just that leader. of at that point. Do you understand? So I feel like when we're talking about, even like if I have an organization, right, being a leader, I have people that are following me. So I have to set an example at the end of the day. So when we're talking about leaders, we're not just talking about our political leaders.
You know,
we're
we,
talking
we, we
about
find it
all
easy.
form of leadership.
We find it easy to always place the buck
Yeah.
at the leadership, you know, because they're always at the focal point. But look, let's go back. There is a fundamental question here: Are we surviving, or are we thriving, or are we submissive?
We're not even surviving.
No,
Sorry,
no,
we're not submissive. Nigerians are not
we're
submissive.
not submissive.
We're just
We are
living.
surviving, and it is that survival.
So we have succumbed to the
Hold on.
situations of
It
things.
is in surviving that we have evolved all kinds of survival techniques.
Instinct.
The civil servants are using survival techniques to defraud the system, to put spanners in the works so that the system yields certain things to them.
You see, there's something you started with, and I think it's a little bit conflicting. You said, we are not submitting, we are surviving.
Yes.
And that's the question I asked also. And now I'm thinking, if we have submitted, if we have really submitted to the processes that was put in place, the policies, the constitution, do you think things would have been better?
No.
What are we
Because
submitting
the leaders who put those processes in
Didn't submit
place,
to it.
they themselves did not
I
submit
want to ask,
to
what
it.
are we submitting
So
to?
it's an issue
So
of
Nigeria-
do as I say, but don't do as I do. So the people, the followers who are the foot soldiers who actually run the system say, okay, no problem, we will do as you do.
If it's possible for us to submit to a system, we all understand that this system is going to work for us. I think we're going to have a better culture. So one of the things I feel government could do right now, I don't even know if it's government's fault or people's fault right now, but society has to create a particular structure that everybody can submit to. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, right? There are areas that I feel we can try to submit to. It's not necessarily connected to our leaders. Maybe keeping our environments clean, making sure that we do not do things that could cause cholera outbreak, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going to suffer it because the health systems are not working. Do you understand? If you get sick, you might likely die. So if we try and submit for our benefits and then hold government accountable for the areas that they're supposed to provide for us, maybe be united. Because it's necessary at the end of the day for Nigeria to be wherever we want it to be. We all have to be united. Whether you're Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, traditional worshiper, we're all going to suffer. Whatever suffering that you might feel like a particular region will suffer because I'm voting for who I want, you're going to suffer it at the end of the day. So I feel we all just have to unite. But at first, let's go back home. Because if you throw stone in the market, it could hit your
Your own
relative.
person. Yeah.
So
Not if you know how to throw very well. There are people that are very good at throwing stones.
So areas that I feel like we can try and do better that will affect us directly, let us try and do better. And also our police, and our security enforcement, whatever.
Agency.
Please, let's just try and do better. Let's love each other, right? I shouldn't see a policeman or a VIO and I'll just be vexing like
VIO is
this guy
different.
should just
Thank
move
God
from
for
my
VIO.
let me
Thank God
I'll
VIO.
jump there, that kind of thing. That hate relationship, we should have like whenever we see the police, we should feel happy. I just feel like everything is just so
safe,
toxic
actually.
in this
So,
country.
Mr. John, he came to me like this in my thoughts, like, there's a statement called survival of the fittest. And if you say you believe in Nigerian society, we are surviving, we are not submitting right now, we're surviving. That means it's a constant struggle amongst all Nigerians for the limited resources government releases for us, which is a scary place.
It is.
Very scary.
Is there anything you want to round up with on this survival? Is there tactics for surviving? Should we be careful? Because
As far as I'm concerned, we've got barely 2 years before the next election. Nigerians should just rethink. Ask themselves questions, fundamental questions. I have said it that if I have the opportunity to meet Mr. President, there's only one question I'll ask him. Inflation is triple digits. It has never happened I'm a 50-plus-year-old man, sir. In 50 years of my life, I have never seen inflation this high in Nigeria. So please, sir, explain to me why I should vote for you in 2027.
did you vote in 2023 for him?
That is the more reason why he should convince me to vote for him in 2027.
Your vote might not count, but so on a lighter note, you see, we're coming to this conclusion, and it's funny, it's scary, but it's fun that we can also think about it. As you said, if we don't think about the situation of things in our country, we might not be able to find a way out of it. Mr. Bright, on concluding notes, surviving submission, and I'm pulling you into the Constitution of Nigeria right now. Do you think there are areas? Do you think the Constitution of Nigeria, if it's gravitated towards the reality of what's supposed to be and enforced, submission will not be better than survivor?
So if you look at things clearly, you would recognize that we as a people, we've not been doing certain things correctly.
Yeah.
We understand that there are ills in our society, in the country itself. I think clearly we must now start to ask questions, push the government to actually do something differently. I think we're just all relaxed that somebody else will do it. Nobody's going to come save the day.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, there's been protests, there's been a lot of things that has happened, but they say when you allow things like this to continue, you just allow even the blind to lead you. As it is, I think we should get more involved in policy making. The policies are not working. Things need to change. Constitution-wise, things need to change. So I think that's where we should be as a nation.
Nigerians have never demanded for more.
They've never.
We've never demanded for more.
So the good thing is that you said the word for me, and I think I heard it from you. Times have changed. And times will always change. Yeah. So there's a time things were better, there's a time things are not good. Obviously, we can't stay
Are you
here.
sure it was better, or
We read it.
We read about it.
Our fathers told us it was better. And now things are not
Where
as
the
good.
naira was bullying the dollar and the pound.
It might not be as good as we expect it to be,
Yeah.
but we can only wish for it to be better. Today, we're coming to the close on submission or survivor. You see, when we do these conversations, most time we expect viewers at home to tell us what they feel about this conversation. Are you surviving where you are, or you feel submission to government has always handed you the right to do or achieve what you really want to achieve? A lot of people are losing out. A lot of people are cashing in. Which one do you belong to? Thank you very much for having us at the show, and you can follow us on our social media handles. That'll be on the screen, and next week we'll be on another major topic. I won't tell you now. Just stay tuned. Thank you.